Every time you bring a guest on this show, you exploit them and spread whatever problems they have to the whole world.
You were nothing before I came on this show.
Thank you for that.
Dr. Phil McGraw built a massive TV presence on Tough Love, but his real legacy is a 50-year trail of exploitation, shocking scandals, and a corporate meltdown that ended with him pissing off a judge. The man who told America to fix their lives is now fighting to fix his own. So is Dr. Phil actually a doctor? Technically, yes, but not in the way you'd want if you were having a heart attack. He earned a PhD in clinical psychology from the University of North Texas in 1979. But long before he was on TV, Phil was already a creative businessman. Back in the 70s, he and his father opened a Grecian health spa in Topeka, Kansas. They aggressively hawked lifetime membership contracts to unsuspecting locals. And what did they do with those memberships? They sold those same lifetime membership contracts to a financial institution, and court papers later showed McGraw was sued by 3 Topeka banks for about $41,000. But the duo completely skipped town, leaving their customers on the hook for lifetime payments for a gym that no longer existed. Dude was giving scammer from day one. Oh, and that's not his only red flag that TV producers ignored. Dr. Phil hasn't been a licensed psychologist since 2006. Why? Well, back when he was actually practicing therapy, he found he absolutely hated it. He once said, "I didn't have the patience for it. People would want to sit there and talk to you for 6 months, and a lot of times I could figure in the first hour that they just wanted to rent a friend." But it wasn't just impatience that got him out. In 1988, a 19-year-old former patient filed a complaint with the Texas State Board of Examiners of Psychologists. She claimed that McGraw touched her inappropriately, hired her for part-time employment, and made her highly dependent on him, a textbook abuse of the power dynamic. The board reprimanded him, demanding he undergo a year of supervision, physical and psychological exams, and an ethics class. Shortly after facing these penalties, he basically girl-bossed his way out of the therapy business altogether and let his Texas license lapse. After ditching his therapy practice, he started a trial consulting firm in 1989 called Courtroom Sciences Incorporated. They prepped nervous executives and read jury body language. And in 1996, this side hustle led him to the ultimate jackpot: Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey's in Texas facing a federal lawsuit claiming defamation of the American beef.
Oprah was being sued for roughly $11 million by Texas cattlemen for defamation after she trashed the beef industry over mad cow disease. Phil's firm coached her through the trial. When she won, she was so impressed that she brought him onto her show as a life strategist. By 2002, Oprah's production company helped him launch The Dr. Phil Show. The grift was officially mainstream. But to understand why his show worked so well, you have to understand the era of TV he was entering. In the 90s, the tabloid talk show was king. Shows like Jerry Springer and Jenny Jones thrived on absolute chaos. It was basically the Wild West of modern daytime programming. In 1995, a guest on the Jenny Jones show actually murdered another guest 3 days after an episode filmed because producers ambushed him with a secret same-sex crush to get a reaction. The industry was facing massive backlash for being a dangerous liability. Enter Dr. Phil. He presented himself as the sophisticated, educated alternative to the trash TV of the 90s. He didn't have bouncers breaking up fistfights, he wore suits, used psychological buzzwords, and preached personal responsibility. But as we would soon find out, putting a medical facade on exploitation doesn't make it safer, but far more insidious. When you put a guy who isn't a licensed practitioner on television and tell him to solve severe trauma in 45 minutes with commercial breaks, things are gonna get messy. The show basically operated by finding people at their absolute lowest breaking point, bringing them to Hollywood and exploiting them for views. In 2008, Britney Spears was going through one of the most publicized mental health crises in modern history. She was taken to a hospital for psychiatric care, and her parents asked Dr. Phil visits her, supposedly as a family friend that the family could confide in. Instead of keeping the family's trust, Phil immediately went on national television on the CBS early show to broadcast her private condition to the world.
I want to set the record straight. I went to see Britney at the request of her family. I talked to Lynn, I talked to Jamie, I talked to Brian, her brother.
Britney's family was furious. A family spokesperson, Lou Taylor, went on the Today Show and said Dr. Phil completely crossed the line, betraying their trust to make public statements. The family basically extended an invitation of trust for him to come in as a resource to support them, not to go out and make public statements. He was not invited to make this part of a public display or part of the media. But remember, since Phil had retired his license, he technically had no legal or ethical duty to maintain a doctor-patient confidentiality. Convenient, right? But that was just the appetizer. In 2016, he interviewed Shelley Duvall, the legendary actress from The Shining. Duvall was living in near isolation and suffering from a severe mental breakdown.
I loved Robin Williams. I don't think he's dead.
Where do you think he is?
Shape-shifting.
Do you see him?
Yes.
Instead of getting her quiet, private, off-camera help, Dr. Phil used her most delusional moments as a promotional trailer for the episode. Stanley Kubrick's daughter, Vivian, penned an open letter calling the interview a form of lurid and exploitative entertainment, and appallingly cruel. Actress Mia Farrow tweeted that there should be laws to protect the mentally ill from TV talk show predators like Dr. Phil. When confronted about the backlash, did Phil apologize? Of course not.
Do you regret what you did there?
Oh, I don't regret what I did.
If the celebrity exploitation was bad, how the show treated ordinary people was downright dystopian. The producers didn't just document drama, they actively manufactured it, often putting lives at risk. In 2008, a viral video circulated of 8 teenagers viciously beating a 16-year-old girl until she was unconscious. The teens were arrested for kidnapping and battery. Dr. Phil wanted the ringleader on his show for an exclusive interview, but she was in jail. So what did the show do? A production assistant coughed up $30,000 to post the violent criminal's bail just to secure the story. They literally bailed out an attacker for television ratings. The public outcry was so massive that Phil was forced to scrap the episode. The show also blatantly manipulated footage to frame guests. In 2005, during the height of the Natalie Holloway missing person case, Dr. Phil had the primary suspects, the Calpo brothers, on the show. Using hidden cameras, Phil broadcasted a clip where one of the brothers seemingly admitted to having sex with Holloway, saying, "You'd be surprised how easy it was." It was a massive bombshell. The only problem? The brothers sued, claiming the show intentionally spliced and edited the footage out of context to make them look guilty. But the absolute darkest moment of the show's history involved Todd Herzog. Todd was the winner of Survivor China, who struggled heavily with alcoholism. He was invited on the show in 2013 for an intervention.
Todd, Dr. Phil.
Hi, I'm Todd.
Todd blew a .263 on a breathalyzer on stage. It made for incredible, shocking television. Years later, though, Todd came out and exposed exactly how he got that drunk. Todd claimed he arrived at the Los Angeles studio completely sober, but when he was placed in his unsupervised dressing room, he found it fully stocked with 2 liters of vodka, Red Bull, and orange juice.
I drank the entire bottle. And then at some point, somebody gave me a Xanax. They said, "This will calm your nerves," which I've never taken Xanax before in my life.
Now, mixing a full bottle of vodka with Xanax? A famously lethal combination, it can cause seizure, hallucinations, or death. Now, the producers of the show have denied these allegations, but if they're true, this means producers literally risked a man's life to make sure he stumbled onto stage looking like a total wreck, just for the ratings. Dr. Phil didn't just exploit adults. His absolute bread and butter was one of out-of-control teen. His endorsement of tough love parenting kicked off a massive boom for the troubled teen industry. A sprawling network of highly unregulated wilderness camps and ranches where kids were illegally kidnapped, abused, and humiliated. And Dr. Phil acted as the ultimate middleman, promoting these camps endlessly on his show.
Is your teen out of control? The Aspen Education Group can help you get that teen back on track. Now, Aspen's nationwide network of programs has been featured on my show for years, and they can help your family too.
When teens refused to go, Dr. Phil would hire transporters. This is a polite industry term for large adults who show up at a minor's house in the middle of the night, handcuff them, and force them into a van.
Get me in the car!
Get the up!
Hey, bro. Shut the doors, let's go, people.
Once these kids were shipped off, the reality of these camps was a total nightmare. Take Provo Canyon School, a facility Phil recommended. Former resident Angela Smith reported being strip-searched immediately upon arrival. When she left a small wrinkle in her bedsheet, she was thrown into a 6x6 concrete cell known as the dungeon for a week, forced to stand and stare at a wall for 12 hours a day. Another resident claimed the facility served lumpy, sour milk and that staff once smashed a girl's face into a wall, breaking her nose. Then there was Inspirations for Youth and Families, an addiction center Phil called the leading family addiction treatment center. A private investigator later revealed that in just 2 years, 180 police reports were filed for missing teenagers who had simply walked out of the facility. But the most infamous Dr. Phil pipeline was to Turnabout Ranch in Utah. This is where Danielle Bregoli, famously known as the Cash Me Outside girl, now Bhad Bhabie, was sent after her meme status appearance on the show in 2016.
That's what I always do, and they never catch me. Ain't nobody gonna catch me. Catch me outside! How about that? Catch me outside! How about that?
Years later, she took to YouTube to drop an absolute nuke on Dr. Phil and the ranch.
So for the first 3 days you're there, is no showering. They put you in a circle, which they wouldn't let me lay down for nothing. They had no problem holding kids down, which is against the law.
Lawsuits back up her claims. A lawsuit from a girl named Elizabeth alleged she was forced to sleep on a wooden slab despite a back injury. Forced to sleep with clothes contaminated with animal feces, and was forced to eat and prepare meat, despite the fact that she was a vegetarian. But it gets even worse. While Danielle was actually at Turnabout Ranch, a 17-year-old named Clay Brewer, who was experiencing severe drug withdrawals that the ranch wasn't equipped to handle, brutally murdered a staff member, Jimmy Woolsey, with a blunt object. Another staff member was permanently disabled. The kids were traumatized, hearing the screams over the walkie-talkies, but the facility allegedly tried to sweep it under the rug and enforce silence. When Dr. Phil was confronted by News Nation about the physical abuse, sexual assaults, and murder happening at the ranches he relentlessly promoted, his response was the ultimate masterclass in gaslighting.
We don't have anything to do with what happens with guests once they leave the stage. That's between them and the facility.
Ah, yes, you aggressively advertise them as the best of the best to millions of desperate parents. Repeatedly ship minors there in the middle of the night, but totally wash your hands of the blood once the cameras stop rolling. Classic. Phil didn't just sell terrible advice. He used his pseudo-medical authority to sell literal snake oil. In 2003, capitalizing on the Oprah-era diet craze, Phil launched a line of nutritional supplements called Shape Up. The plan required desperate customers to take up to 22 pills a day, costing them $120 a month. The Federal Trade Commission eventually stepped in to investigate the science behind these pills. It turns out there wasn't any. Experts called the program total nonsense. The thousands of customers filed a massive class action lawsuit claiming the pills were fraudulent. I think it's a good product and I'm doing it for a really good reason. I wouldn't apologize for that. Phil didn't even have to pay the $10.5 million settlement himself. His insurance completely covered it. He walked away unscathed. He also became a paid spokesperson for a diabetes drug called Victoza. The conflict of interest was blinding. He was using his doctor persona to sell a medical product that came with severe warnings about thyroid cancer. But Dr. Phil didn't even take Victoza. He took a completely different medication for his own diabetes. But the absolute weirdest grift was the Dr. Phil Path to Recovery VR headset. He partnered with rehab clinics to offer addicts a virtual reality experience where they could talk to a CGI Dr. Phil in a virtual bar setting. However, there was no strong public clinical evidence showing the VR program treated addiction effectively. So why do it? According to Boston Globe, a sales VP told the client the real goal was to get your phones to ring and bring in more lucrative admissions for the clinics. It was a marketing gimmick disguised as healthcare. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Phil's son, Jay McGraw, runs a production company called Stage 29. Jay was sued by a fitness instructor named Holly who claimed he stole her gym program idea, Pink Iron, and rebranded it as Pink Method. Jay was also sued by a man named Tyler Bowling, who was manipulated into appearing on Jay's show, The Doctors, to expose his disfigured pee-pee on national television in exchange for surgery. The show allegedly created a fake letter to juice the drama and violated HIPAA laws. So what was it like actually working for the man who was telling America how to fix their lives? According to former employees, an absolute living nightmare. In 2022, over a dozen current and former employees blew the whistle on the show's unhinged work environment, describing the control room as a war zone. Executive producer Carla Pennington was accused of screaming at staff, calling them idiots, and using the R word for minor mistakes. Employees said they were mercilessly berated to the point where they couldn't breathe. In 2015, former segment director Leah Rothman sued Dr. Phil for false imprisonment. She claimed that after an information leak, Dr. Phil locked his employees in a room, screamed profanities at them, and threatened them saying, "If you F with me, I'll F with you." She went to HR, but of course, HR at the Dr. Phil show sided with Dr. Phil, forcing her to quit. But the real darkness was how the staff were allegedly instructed to treat the guests. Staffers claimed they were taught to manipulate vulnerable guests, pushing them to the brink for good TV. One employee stated they were explicitly instructed not to give a guest their prescribed medication. "We were specifically instructed, make sure that she doesn't take her medication before she goes on stage, because they wanted her to look unstable and quote-unquote crazy." And let's not forget the women who sued the show after claiming they were locked in a house against their will with a completely naked man who exposed himself to them. But you know what they say, karma can be such a... By 2022, Dr. Phil's TV show was on the decline. Kids were watching TikTok, not daytime TV. But even those, his show finally quit in 2023. Phil couldn't quit being famous, so he moved to Texas and teamed up with the big religious TV company Trinity Broadcasting Network, or TBN, under a $500 million deal. TBN provided Phil with funding to start a brand new channel called Merit Street Media. Phil promised TBN he owned the rights to his old show so they could show reruns for free. But that was a lie. Surprise, the new channel was a huge flop. Almost no one watched it, and they were losing over $100 million. They even got sued by the Professional Bull Riders, a rodeo league, because Phil owed them $181 million. Instead of fixing his failing company, Dr. Phil started a secret new plan. We know this because his text messages were found by the court. Stage 1. he tricked TBN's boss into giving him the biggest share of the company, which was 70%. The very same day, he kicked TBN's leader off the board without telling them. He even bragged in an email calling it a gangster move to take over. Stage 2. With TBN out, he told Merritt Street to stop paying its vendors. Then he secretly started a rival company called Envoy Media. He told the court Merritt Street was broke, what is referenced to as a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, to try and use the law to make all the money he owed TBN and the Rodeo League disappear. At the same time, he was secretly moving all of Merritt Street's stuff, ideas, and employees over to his new company, Envoy. He texted his friend, "I'm filing Chapter 11 for Merritt Street to wipe out all the debt. Real gangsters take lots of notes." But Dr. Phil made a massive mistake. He thought the court would be stupid. Federal Judge Scott Everett, the judge presiding the case, was instantly suspicious. He found out Dr. Phil had put his own friends in charge of fixing Merritt Street. But those same friends were secretly working for his new company, Envoy, trying to steal Merritt Street's digital secrets. When the court asked for Dr. Phil's texts, he deleted the gangster message, but the court found the copy anyway. Judge Everett was furious. He immediately put a stop to the plan and turned the case into a Chapter 7 liquidation instead. Basically, this means that an independent bankruptcy trustee takes the keys, takes over the business, and forcefully sells every single camera and asset of Merritt TV to pay back the people Dr. Phil tried to cheat. Sucks to suck, bro. If anyone else had lied to investors, intentionally destroyed evidence, and tried to scam their way through a federal bankruptcy court, they would likely be facing severe criminal charges right now. But this is Dr. Phil. Despite a federal judge liquidating his network for what was essentially a massive corporate heist, despite the lawsuit for false imprisonment and toxic workplace cultures, and despite decades of exploiting the mentally ill and funneling teenagers into abusive wilderness camps, Phil McGraw is going to be just fine. In October 2025, he announced a brand new distribution deal with Spectrum, one of the largest cable providers in the country. He's already finding his way back into American living rooms via Envoy Media. Dr. Phil is a master of the Messiah complex. He has built a brand where he's always the savior, and the guest is always the one at fault for their own suffering. If a treatment center fails, it's the guest's fault. If a business fails, it's the partner's fault. If he gets caught in a scam, it's his restructuring officer's fault. He regularly goes on podcasts to complain about cancel culture, whining that people are too sensitive and quick to destroy careers. Yet, this is the same man who spent 20 years publicly humiliating families, destroying reputations, and roasting teenagers in front of millions of people for profit. We live in an era where we demand authenticity, but Dr. Phil has proven that if you wrap a grift in a folksy Texas drawl and a suit, millions of people will still tune in to watch you play the hero. He might not be a licensed psychologist, he might not be America's sweet, tough love uncle, but if there's one thing Phil McGraw actually is an expert in, it's surviving the consequences of his own actions. Now, like and subscribe or Bhad Bhabie will cash you outside. How about that?